Hello and welcome to another episode of Streamable Horror. And today we're looking at Train to Busan, which is now available on Netflix and came out in 2016. The plot is a father who has a very distant relationship with his daughter is taking his daughter to Busan to see his ex-wife, but on his way there a zombie apocalypse starts and people on the train get infected and basically everything just goes downhill from there. The plot is extremely well done in this film and it's probably one of the best zombie films you can find out there. It's a zombie film, just you'll have to get used to it if you don't like them. But this one is very much just a zombie film, but it's one of the better ones out there. It's not in English, so if you don't like subtitles, I would not recommend you watch this film. But the plot is pretty simple and it's not too hard to understand. Well, like some of the other films I did for the past 2 weeks, which are kind of hard to understand, this one is not too hard to understand, and basically anybody can understand it that has half a brain. It's a pretty simple story, and there's not much to it, but every story beat inside of it is very interesting, even though the entire plot does not sound interesting on its own. The story itself is extremely interesting. So let's get on to the violence and gore. The gore in this film is extremely graphic, which is to be expected since it is an R-rated zombie film, but you are going to see a lot of it, and there's going to be just a lot of gore. It's a normal zombie movie, a lot of R-rated style gore. Although it is extremely well done gore, there's not really any CG blood, I would say, and all the violence. This is extremely violent, extremely graphic violence, but it is not too bad for you to handle if you've ever seen a zombie film at least once in your life. This is not the most graphic zombie film I've ever seen in my life, but it is pretty graphic. And the amount of every time somebody dies, they're spewing blood all over the place, so expect a lot of that. But besides that, it's not too graphic, but that's what you should expect from a zombie film. But it's just one of those films, you know. And I'd say the violence isn't too bad, but that's just me. Some people could think this is bad because they haven't seen a zombie film. But if you have, you know what to expect. This is not too out of the ordinary for a zombie film gore-wise. But let's get on to the next part. The horror in this film is not too much concerning. It is a zombie film, because if you don't find zombies scary, you're not going to find this film to be very scary at all. But that's normal, so don't expect something too insane. Expect something along the lines of an action movie more so than a horror film, because I'd consider this to be more of an action film, but some people might disagree. A lot of people actually might disagree with me saying that's a horror film, but a lot of people might disagree with me saying it's an action film. It's like a mix of both genres. It's what you are going to expect from a zombie film. Most zombie films are a combination of survival, horror, and action. But this one seems to lean a little bit more on the action than on the horror. The horror isn't too bad, but this is very much so an action film, I would say. And it's just because it's a zombie film does not mean it's a horror film. I do like this film, it's just not very scary. Don't expect something to be extremely scary from this film. It's just more so an action film than a horror film. For my final thoughts, I actually really like this movie. This is probably one of the better Korean films that are out there. One of the better action and zombie films out there. The story is extremely well done. Everything is well made. It's just not it's not great as a horror film, but it's great as an action movie. This is very much so an action movie, so don't expect it to be scared out of your seat. I didn't find it very scary at all, but it's probably one of the best zombie films out there, and it's a lot better than that garbage that was World War Z. But it's like a better version of World War Z, but on a train. And I'd say it's probably one of the best zombie films just ever made. Even I liked it probably more than I liked Night of the Living Dead, which I didn't really like that much, but this one is pretty much one of the best ones you can find on streaming services, although don't expecting it to be a giant colossal horror film. Expect it to be more so a action movie, because that's what it is. And I'll see you guys next week.
Like and subscribe for more amazing content.